Study with Tici-Corner.
CD 1. Track 1.
The person I'm closest to in my family is definitely my mum, Kate. We've always got on and we hardly ever fall out. I know that's unusual. She's really outgoing and sociable. She's always going out with friends and colleagues. Everyone thinks she's good fun. I look up to her because she's so hardworking. She never sits still and she works long hours. She can be a bit impatient though. She gets annoyed when her colleagues aren't as efficient as her. I take after her in that. I'm impatient too. And she's oversensitive, often getting offended for seemingly no reason.
2. My cousin Kieran and I grew up together. We were inseparable. He was so creative. He'd always think of new games we could play and make up these stories to make me laugh. I was constantly amazed by his open-mindedness as well. He was never judgmental. I wish I could be like that. Unfortunately, we grew apart, slowly but surely, and by the time we went to uni, we weren't in touch anymore. I haven't seen him for years. It's really sad. I would blame it partly on the fact that he's not very reliable. So, for example, if I email him, he won't respond. I'm not sure what he's up to these days.
3.
I know this is a cliché, but I don't get on with my in-laws, especially my mother-in-law, Jane. She's so nosy, always wanting to know what we're doing and who we're with, and she's terribly blunt, which means she quite often upsets us with things she comes out with. And then she can be quite stingy. When we go out for a meal with her and my father-in-law, she never offers to pay, even though they're much better off than us. I must say, though, she's extremely clever, and I do respect her for that. She set up her own business 5 years ago, and it's gone from strength to strength. She's so self-assured and ambitious too, which I suppose is why she's so successful in business.
Track 2.
Tell me something about your family. What do you like doing most with your family? Who are you close to in your family? In what way is your family important to you?
Sample answers.
Tell me something about your family.
Although I live abroad now, my mum's family is from Paris and my dad's family is from Toulouse, so I'm from a very French family. I would say I come from quite a small family, really. For example, I just have one older sister and 4 cousins, but it's true that my extended family is fairly big.
What do you like doing most with your family?
I like having nice long meals with good food and good wine, and a few jokes for dessert.
Who are you close to in your family?
In my family? Well, I'm close to my Uncle Jacques. He's a chef. He's hilarious, always telling jokes, and he's very enthusiastic about everything he does. We spent a lot of time together when I was growing up. In fact, he helped to bring me up.
In what way is your family important to you?
My family is everything to me. They are my best friends. They support me when things aren't going well, and when things are going well. I know they'll always be there for me, no matter what.
Track 3.
One of my best friends is a guy called Raoul. I met him at uni in Barcelona, where we were in the same study group. When was that? I suppose it was over 10 years ago now, so yes, we've known each other for a good decade. We got to know each other on the tennis courts because the first few days of our course were so boring that we both decided we'd be better off outside playing tennis. What kind of person is he? Well, he's very active, a sporty type, involved in hiking and mountain biking, a bit of an adrenaline junkie. He's also a very determined person. When he gets into something, he gives 100%. And he changes passions often. That makes him a bit of a self-absorbed person, actually, which I'd say is a drawback. And I think he comes across as full of himself sometimes. I mean, a bit too sure of his own opinions. As for why I like him, well, he's actually quite different from me. At uni, he'd often suggest doing something and I'd go along with it. And because I'm laid back, I never felt overwhelmed by him. We've never fallen out or anything.
How often do you see your friend?
Well, because we live in different countries, we don't see each other that often. But we try to catch up on a fairly regular basis, say 3 times a year.
Track 4. 1,
Can I have a cup of tea?
2,
We met at uni.
3,
I've known him for 10 years.
4,
I'm from Dubai.
5.
It's 9:45.
Track 5. 1,
2. Ta.
2,
Of.
3,
At.
4,
From.
5.
4.
Track 6. 1,
Has she been waiting for long?
2,
What are you looking at?
3,
The present's not from Mark, it's for Mark.
4.
I want to go.
Track 7. Modern families.
In what ways have families changed in the last 100 years? Should we rely heavily on our families, or is it better to try to be independent? The elderly are sometimes considered the wisest members of society. What do you think we can learn from them?
Friendship.
What do you expect from a good friend? Are friends as important to you as family? Do you think friendships change as we get older? How?
Sample answers.
In what ways have families changed in the last 100 years?
In Western countries, I would say families have become more widely dispersed and less close. People travel more and then end up living far away from their families. I think this is a shame because it means there is a breakdown of communities. I also think that because families are spread over a wider geographical area, elderly people tend to be forgotten and usually live on their own.
Should we rely heavily on our families, or is it better to try to be independent?
People seem to like living independently from each other these days, but I do wonder if that's the best way. Relying on people is seen as a weakness by some, I think. However, having family nearby is invaluable when you have children, in my opinion. Who else can be called on to babysit at a moment's notice?
The elderly are sometimes considered the wisest members of society. What do you think we can learn from them?
Oh, an immense amount. They're our living link with the past, of a family, a region, a country. They're the keepers of local traditions, for example, and they provide a sense of identity to younger generations.
Sample answers.
What do you expect from a good friend?
For me, a good friend has to be reliable. I can't stand being stood up or having my emails and texts ignored. As well as that, a friend should be someone you can have good fun with. There are many things in life to be serious about, but friendship shouldn't be one of them. I also believe that opposites attract, in friendships just as in romance, so a good friend will most likely be very different from you in many ways.
Are friends as important to you as family?
No, I wouldn't say so. Friends come and go, but family are always there, whether you like it or not. You can even be rude to your family, not that it's advisable, of course, and they will forgive you. But sometimes you've known a friend for so long, they can become like a family member. You can really be yourself with them, and you may even argue quite often, like siblings do.
Do you think friendships change as we get older?
Well, I definitely find that I have less in common with some friends than I used to. I sometimes wonder what we used to find to talk about. And so you often grow apart from old school friends or old colleagues. The people I feel I have most in common with are friends I met at university. I'm not sure why, but we somehow always have lots to talk about.
Track 8.
It's by far my favourite sport to watch. I love the excitement that builds up as the match progresses, with the fans cheering and chanting. There's always an amazing atmosphere. My team usually loses, it has to be said, although last week they drew. When they play away, I always try to go and support them, and I've got the latest kit, but they're getting more and more expensive, so I may have to stop buying them. I think the clubs take advantage of fans' loyalty to push up the prices. Team sports are a fantastic way for young people to improve their fitness. I coach a junior team at the weekend. We don't train in a stadium, of course, just on a pitch in our local park. I was really delighted last week when our youngest player scored the winning goal with a beautiful header. I think he might prove to be a real up-and-coming talent.
Track 9. What do you do to keep fit? Are you good at sport? What sports do you play? What is the most popular sport in your country? Sample answers. What do you do to keep fit?
I go to the gym twice a week. I don't really enjoy it, to be honest, but it's an easy way to keep fit. I mainly do cardiovascular exercises rather than muscle building.
Are you good at sport?
Not really, but I try my best. I prefer individual sports to team sports, because if I do badly in a team game, I always feel I'm letting everyone down.
What sports do you play?
I go kite surfing sometimes. I enjoy it because it's so exhilarating. I can't go often though, because there's rarely enough wind where I live. I might take up another water sport instead.
What is the most popular sport in your country?
I'd say the most popular sport is football, as in most countries. Most people have a favourite team who they support through thick and thin. The teams are often English ones, and Manchester United is the most well-known.
Track 10. Speaker 1. Oh, great! The match is starting! Speaker 2.
Oh, great. The match is starting.
Speaker 3.
Liverpool won. Fantastic.
Speaker 4.
Liverpool won! Fantastic!
Track 11. 1. 2. 3. 4. Track 12. 1.
It was amazing.
2.
It was incredible.
3.
It was breathtaking.
4.
The crowd went wild.
Track 13. I'd like to talk about the most exciting tennis match I've ever seen. It was about 6 years ago, just outside Bordeaux, in France, and it was the boys' final of a junior championship. My favourite player, a rising star, had got to the final, so I wanted to see him. At the time, I didn't know anyone else who was interested in tennis. All my friends preferred football, so I went on my own. I set off really early to make sure I got there on time. But I ended up being too early, and I had to wait for 2 hours for the match to start. It didn't matter though, because this meant I got one of the best seats, right at the front, in the middle of the court. I was delighted about that. Other people gradually started arriving. The seats filled up, and we waited expectantly for the players. When the match started, it soon became clear that I was practically the only person supporting Jean Martin. Most people were there to support the other guy, who had won the previous 2 years and was the favourite to win this year too. Every time Paul Fernandez won a point, the crowd erupted into applause, but I sat silently, getting more and more anxious. Martin lost the first set, but then there was a dramatic turnaround. He suddenly seemed to find some self-belief, and he started to win. That's what I love about tennis. It's a battle of the mind as much as the body. I find it interesting to see how some players may be highly skilled, but don't have the mental strength to win. Martin obviously did have this strength, and Fernandez was slowly falling apart. The atmosphere was electric. Martin showed off his amazing skills, hitting ball after ball straight down the line. Martin served for the match. You could have heard a pin drop. When he served an ace, the crowd went wild. Although they had begun by supporting his opponent, they had grown to respect him for his cool head and control of the ball. When he was presented with a trophy, he cried with joy.
Do you play tennis yourself?
Yes, I'm a keen tennis player. I joined a club about 2 years ago and play all the time. Track 14. Keeping fit.
What are the best ways to keep fit? Do you think most people consider exercise a chore, or do they find it fun? What is the most popular form of exercise in your country?
Healthy lifestyles.
Do you think people in your country are less healthy than they used to be? How can we encourage young people to stay healthy? Should governments intervene to force people to be healthier?
Sample answers. Keeping fit.
What are the best ways to keep fit?
The best way to keep fit is to do exercise that raises your heart rate. The heart is a muscle and has to be worked like any other muscle. So golf, in my opinion, is not the best form of exercise. Something like jogging or swimming or surfing is much more beneficial.
Do you think most people consider exercise a chore, or do they find it fun?
I think most people feel it is something they should do. That is a mistake as far as I'm concerned, because the best way to exercise is not to think about the fitness aspect and just have fun. You can exercise without even noticing you're doing it if you play volleyball with your friends, or go snorkeling, or go for a long walk on a sunny day, or something like that.
What is the most popular form of exercise in your country?
I would say the most popular form of exercise is going to the gym. I'm in two minds about the gym as a way to keep fit. On the one hand, it is convenient, but on the other hand, a gym is a very controlled environment, somewhat lacking in imagination and spontaneity.
Healthy lifestyles.
Do you think people in your country are less healthy than they used to be?
Yes, definitely. I would argue that the invention of TV has led to people being much too sedentary. I know some people who refuse to have a television because they think that without one they are much more likely to keep active. It's all too easy to become a couch potato. Also, most people work in offices, so they just sit in a chair all day long and only move to go to the photocopier. That's very unhealthy. People used to work the land and so be on the go from morning till night. Obesity was unknown then, except among the super rich, I imagine.
How can we encourage young people to stay healthy?
Parents should set a good example, but I strongly believe that schools have a crucial role to play. Not only can they offer a wide range of sports for children to play, they can teach them about eating a balanced diet and the negative effects of eating junk food and not exercising. If children don't hear all this from home, they have to hear it from somewhere, and I would argue that it's the school's responsibility. Once they get a taste for playing sports, they will love the sense of achievement it can give you and the feeling of camaraderie with your teammates. And then, hopefully, they won't ever want to stop playing sports.
Should governments intervene to force people to be healthier?
I'm highly sceptical of the idea that governments should force their citizens to be healthy. People ought to be encouraged to lead healthy lives, but not forced to. They could, for example, run an ad campaign showing people how to eat a balanced diet, that you need to eat some carbohydrates, some vegetables and fruit, some meat and so on. I think most people don't know that, but I'm unconvinced that trying to force people into healthy habits would work. Because when bullied like that, people tend to resent it and react by sticking even more firmly with their unhealthy lifestyles. The one area where I strongly believe legislation is necessary is with smoking. Smokers can harm others through passive smoking, so they should not be allowed to smoke in public places. In fact, this has just recently been outlawed in my country.
Track 15.
My name's Mubarak, and I'm from the United Arab Emirates. My favourite subject at school was maths. I really loved it, I think primarily because I liked being able to use logic to work out answers, rather than having to speculate and theorise, as you often do in art subjects. I went on to study for bachelor's and master's degrees, both in mechanical engineering at Leeds University in England. I chose that subject because, although I was more keen on maths, engineering is more practical. My decision to study in Britain was motivated by the high prestige of British qualifications back in my home country. The tuition fees are very high for foreign students, but my family paid them for me. I found the course very challenging. English is, of course, not my mother tongue, so I found some of the lectures and seminars hard to follow. As a result, I failed my first-year exams. I had to retake them all, but then, thankfully, I passed. I always did well in my coursework because I could take time to research the topic and check my English. My dream job would be to work as a mechanical engineer for the United Arab Emirates Army. The reasons are that such a job carries high prestige, it would be interesting, and there would be good job security. If I got such a job, I would probably have it for life.